about Rabbi Ya'aqob Menashe from Midrash Great Neck to please give us a few words.
The heat and the temperature is only surpassed by a pain. Each and every one of us feels.
Can you hear me? You say that the pain from the incredible heat and very high temperature is moving near. The pain that each and every one of us feels at this moment. Like years ago, they gathered together in Eretz Yisrael in the Great Neck, the Levaya, the Rabbi So continuous. Ya'aqob Menashe say very, very sad. Abby, my wife, and myself, and for certainly over a time who had a close relationship with Rabbi Menashe, and so many people who they were mashpia on in the most positive and extraordinarily inspirational way. Stand out and keep its heartfelt condolences by Penny, the children, and to the grandchildren. I think it's highly appropriate if there had to be a Levaya. It would be in the 9 days, not just because it's a time of sadness and tears and tragedy. The lesson of this Levaya, exactly the lesson that each and every one of us has to hear. You're all learning people gathered here, and people who are distant from Torah and mitzvos. You'll understand that we're not only in the 9 days of Av, but we're to Halba Tisha B'Av. That's a few days away from Tisha B'Av itself. We all understand those powerful lessons of Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av came not once but twice. Ordered by its Risha. First base of Midrash destroyed in 586 BCE by the Babylonians. The word tells us explicitly the cause was that they were violating three most serious errors of the entire Torah. The Zara, Eliyahu, sexual immorality, stomach. But at the time of the second base of Midrash, there was nothing of the sort. Afterly, they appeared to be great tzaddikim. As we all know very well, every single one of us, excuse me, they weren't really such tzaddikim. Because Hashem, you're Eliyahu. Doesn't just see with his eyes, he reads with his X-ray vision into our hearts and minds, and most of all our neshamas. He saw a generation of Jews who are from all Orthodox, the Dakte, Kachun Masara, and mitzvahs. But only the mitzvahs ben Adam Lamakom, not the mitzvahs ben Adam. That destroyed Klal Yisrael, that made Kadosh Baruch Hu be so fed up that instead of sending us into Galus for 70 years, for the 3, he sent us into a Galus that still hasn't completely terminated. Want to understand how to absorb the proper lesson in the right mood and frame of mind. You should just think about this most precious couple that we have lost. First the Rabbanit, now the Rav. They were so fine, they were so into worrying about each and every person and being a walking breathing Kiddush Hashem for each and every person. That's what made them be able to be Makare so many people, to bring so many Jews come back to Torah, the mitzvos. Says that we did farewell to our beloved Rabbi Ya'aqob Menashe. We hope that together with the Rabbanit, we go to the highest levels of Gan Eden, and we should be able there to inspire Kadosh Baruch Hu to help us realize that precious. Hayyim taught us. Be a mensch. Show tremendous love, compassion, patience, sensitivity. Reach out to every last Jew. There isn't a Jew that can be saved if you don't use the right strategy. So the schus of the model, the role modeling that he taught us, or mine, that he reached the highest levels of Gan Eden and be able to receive the unbelievable schar tov that Kadosh Baruch Hu has for him in all of Haba.
Thank you over there. This moment we'd like to have a new shalom. The Babylon is setting up shalom.
We didn't expect it to be this way. We believed so much. Dear family, and when I say dear family, I do not mean only the Rabbanit, the children. I mean each and every one of you coming here today, because Rabbi Menashe truly made everyone part of a big, amazing family. And even though it's months already that have been passed since he became sick, and almost there was no chance, it feels to me that it's something that really we cannot accept, cannot understand. We still want to say the Hayyim for him. We still wanted to have a chance, another class, to dedicate for his refuah shelema. We still had a program of what to do, how we're going to greet him when he's going to come back from the hospital. The Gemara Sanhedrin Daf Tzadik Zayin Amud Aleph says, Amar Rabbi Yohanan, Dor sheben David ba Talmidei Chachamim mitma'atin. The generation that the Mashiach is going to come, and this is a generation very soon, Be'ezrat Hashem, we hope and we believe and we see the signs, that is very close to Yom Yehulatenu, V'pedut Nafshenu. One of the major signs that this time is coming is that the tzaddikim mitma'atim, you have less and less tzaddikim. Hashem is taking the tzaddikim from us. And one could ask, wait a minute, but there was also no generation that we had so much Torah. So many people are learning Torah and become rabbis. We have so much Torah, we have so many. So what do you mean mitma'atim? Maybe the answer is there are some Talmidei Chachamim Amitiyim in a generation that there is no replacement for what they do in this world. That no one can do what they do. That they have a major power that no one could replace them. Do you really know anyone else like Rabbi Ya'aqob Menashe? Unbelievable, so coming personality, like like Rabbi Ya'aqob Menashe? Did you ever heard a voice like Rabbi Ya'aqob Menashe when he prayed in Rosh Hashanah? Even if you have a heart made of iron, you are going to dissolve. Do you know anyone else who has such a mesirut nefesh, dedication for Torah for every single Jew? You know anyone who did so much to continue the rich, unbelievable legacy of the Sephardic tradition, Iraqi tradition of Rabbi Yosef Hayyim, Rabbeinu Agadol, Me'or HaKulam? And in the continuation of this Gemara, the Gemara continues and saying, "V'hashe'ar enehem kalot," and those who are going to be left over, which is us, enehem kalot, which means their eyes are already black, they're tired, they're full of tears from waiting to see how long it's going to take until we are going to heal from, unfortunately, hasbe shalom, the diseases that are going to be and the sicknesses that are going to be. And we know where we're standing today. But our eyes were kalot to see when he is going to wake up from his terrible disease. Because he took it on himself. Because he was kapara, I believe, for so many. Do we understand what a tremendous cry and voice that Tzaddikim made in the heavens for the last 3 months? Could you just believe and imagine what Rabbeinu Yosef Hayyim was making a point in the heavens? Rabbeinu Abdallah Somech, all Chachmei Bavel, all the millions of angels that were created from his Torah, from his Hasadim, all the millions of tears of so many people, and especially Rabbanit Ruth, Zichronah Livracha. But in the end, it's Hua Yunim. And that's what it's called, kapara on the generation. We're in a very difficult times we are living. But it's an opinion of the Gemara that doesn't have to be this way. Bezrat Hashem, who can redeem us? We can fix, we can still change. How are we going to do it? I want to share with you a very short statement that I see over here that we can read in the book Birkat HaReach, the Usheh, that Rabbi Yosef Hayyim wrote, that was these were the words that he said in the Levaya of his rabbi, Rabbeinu Abdallah Somech. And now we're going to say for Rabbi Menashe, was maybe the biggest follower, student of Rabbi Yosef Hayyim in our generation. Nimtza, he says, she'ikar to'elet ha'hespedim. The main point of the eulogy, u'shiyeh bo shivron lev u'tshuva. We should repent. We should all do tshuva. But he says, ki tshuva belo shivron lev lo ta'aseh to'elet. There is a tshuva, and there is a tshuva. There is a tshuva, you say, I'm going to change. Okay, I'm going to change. But there is a broken heart. We need to break our heart and to tear for tzaddik gadol v'yashar that is no more with us. Says somebody brings a blower, right? That he wants to make a fire, and there is a piece of wood over here, maybe coals, but there's no fire. So you're going to work the whole day. The whole day you're going to work. There's not going to be any fire. If there's no fire, there's nothing. The mesirut nefesh, the sacrifice, the excitement, the fire in the heart. כי העיקר הוא אש הלב, לא עשה כלום. Rabbi Menashe had this fire. Rabbi Menashe had a real fire for everything that has to do with Torah, Emunah, every single thing. And he never gave up. Never gave up. Not only his minyan, not on the things that he did in his life, not on every single Jew. We should take this fire. And if he was bivhinat mizbach kapara, we should make sure that on this mizbeach, esh tamid tukad ala mizbeach lo tikbeh. We're going to put a fire on this mizbeach. We're going to take this unbelievable midah of his, and we also want to dedicate ourselves with fire to Torah, to love each other, just like Rabbi Menashe said, to love every single Jew, to be mekarev every single Jew. And then B'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu ya'areh aleinu ruach me'merumim, and he's going to send his fire to connect with our fire. ויבנה את בית מקדשנו ותפארתנו בקרוב, ואתה לך לקץ ותנוח ותעמוד לגורלך לקץ הימין אמן.
People feel like they need to sit in their cars, they need to go to fresh or something. The family understands it's very hot. We don't want anyone to suffer any sort of discomfort standing out here in the sun. At this point, we're calling out Rabbi Menashe, son of Rabbi Ya'aqob Menashe.
As Brother Leonard said, it's hard to feel like I'm living again. Just recently with my mother a couple of years ago. And it feels like the same thing again. But we know one of the things with this time, our whole family was so strengthened in emunah that everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu does, we're going to say in the future, Baruch Hadol HaMetim. And we don't understand things right now. But Baruch Hashem, our parents both love the family. That does not ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu why. Let's start a little bit. Happened late last night, came in early this morning. Just a little bit about my father, Allah Shalom. My father, many years ago, he was a young man. He started actually working in a company which was across America. And he was gonna be on the top of the company. And Baruch Hashem, he was always in a God-fearing home. He was a God-fearing individual all the time. And he decided it's not what he wants to do. He left it. He went. He studied. And eventually, he left with years and years and years of giving shurim, years and years of spreading HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Torah to Klal Yisrael. And it's a big, big zechut. And a zechut that the children have. They always had at home, from growing up, Shabbat, at different times, people, all sorts of walks of life coming to Shabbat, coming during the week. We didn't know who they were, half of them. They would come for Shabbat. They would try to strengthen them, give them chizuk. People today, till today, they tell us we are who we are today because of your father. My father, as we know, he cherished his minhagim. He loved them, and therefore he knew them. Many, many things growing up when I was young and closed-minded, or whatever the word is, and things he said it can't be, or nobody in the world does that. And I grew up and became more worldly, and I saw these things are brought Sfarim, these things other kingdoms have these minhagim as well. And he's someone that grabbed onto it. I'm not going to say the names, so I'm not sure if I remember the names correctly, but there was a big Rosh Yeshiva that said about a very, very Hashub Sefer in Halakha. That everyone agrees it's a very, very Hashub Sefer, but he said the Sefer is for Yedumim, for people that don't have a Misorah. For people that have a Misorah, they know what they have to do. And that was part of his main attribute of Tiferet Rabbi Ya'aqob. My father, Allah Shalom, I don't know if I knew too many people. He didn't care what anyone had to say. He didn't care what his friends had to say. He didn't care if he's going to lose congregants. He didn't care if he's going to lose out on opportunities because of that. If this is what he was told that the right thing is, if this is how his father told him, this is the way we do it, if this is how he felt is the proper thing to be done. He did it, and he didn't push on to anybody, whatever it is, whether it's lives and fashion or whatever it is. We're always looking over our shoulder, we're always seeing what does the other person think, and maybe if he doesn't think such way things, maybe I'll change what I do. But my father, Allah Shalom, never did that. Whatever the cost was, whatever the price was, he stuck to what he believed to be correct, and that's what he did. I'm going to cut it short. I just want to say a few thank yous. First of all, first and foremost, we want to say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Even in hard times, we saw the hand of Hashem. We saw, I didn't want to say this, I'll say it quickly. It says when Yosef HaSadiq was sold, instead of the Arabs carrying the smelly things they usually carry, it says that they were carrying spices. And it says for the Sadiq that he shouldn't suffer with the smell. And the Bashim asks, who cares? You think he cares? He's a young boy. He's going to a different country. He doesn't know where his family is, doesn't know where his father is, doesn't know where anything is. He's lost. What am I going to do now? And you really think he cares what is in the wagon with him? So the different answers, but in Chazaq Musar, he writes, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing him a lesson. You're right, you're going through hard times. But look, you're going through a hard time, but something is unusual. Something is clearly above nature. I'm showing you in the hard times, don't forget I'm with you. And we felt this the entire with my father in many different ways. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling us, now we know his time has come, but the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with us. I would like to thank everyone on the board. I cannot thank everyone because it's impossible. And I'm posting this out to people. I would like to thank folks that maybe just wanted to follow what I just said. It's clear they're reading a lot of Hayyim, and then your father is a fighter. And those Teilim, every single one, it has an effect, it's going to be answered. Who knows who you save with those Teilim? I would like to thank Great Neck Synagogue for giving us their lot. Chazaq and TorahAnytime setting up everything here. I would like to thank my family, my sisters, brother-in-laws, Penny, my stepmother, for everything that they did. I can really say they made North Shore crazy. Now, I would like to thank a few doctors. The first person I would like to thank, I'll read what my sister wrote and then I'll add myself. First and foremost, Dr. Dr. Rahmani came to visit our father in the hospital right away due to Rabbi Cohen's asking him to. Yes, he was a Sheikh of Hashem and Rabbi Cohen, but Dr. Rahmani chose how to spend the last 4 months visiting my father every day, even Mosei Shabbat, advocating. He personifies Emor Me'at V'Aseh Harbeh. He did so much. He was daily on top of everything that was going on in the hospital. And parenthetically, it was not my father was not his patient. We didn't know. He did so much we didn't know about. There was no one that my father smiled big for at the hospital than Dr. Rahmani. And his dedication is why. And we really, really want to thank him for every single day, for the Sirut Nefesh. We felt we had someone to trust in the hospital. Secondly, Dr. Ilana Zitter, Rabbi Gary Mitchell connected us with, was always kind and compassionate. She gave advice, she advocated for us, and visited my father regularly. Next, Dr. Moshe Wurzberger, who hours of advice and information over the phone. His colleague, we connected us with his colleague, Dr. Hayyim Bernstein. He was the one who initially guided us to send our father to the hospital. And he answered questions till the very end. Dr. Meir Abitat, who Abby Lerner suggested we speak with. He gave us time, advice, and no question, was too silly with the whole heart. Dr. Yitzhak Balachani, visiting, calling nonstop with ideas. Also like to thank Dr. Huberfeld, Dr. Devorah Lichtman, Dr. Eyal Hilowitz, and the chaplain Jacobson, with the whole heart. This is very, very hard for us. We know that my father can see our father now. They should be able to all of us, and we should see the complete, not the personal salvation, but the complete salvation for Klal Yisrael. Amen.
We have water over here for everyone that's please make sure you're drinking water. Please make sure you have sunscreen if you're standing in the sun. It's unusually hot. Please take care of yourself. We're asking Sir Yosef Montana to
I appreciate the time. I'm not the rabbi. But all I know is since this morning, the day is not the same. And Ben Israel lost a shepherd. And I did lose another father. 2 months ago, I did lose my physical father. And today, I lost my Rabbanic father. If anybody wants to know who Rabbi Menashe is, please look at my family and where we are going. Under his guidance, we did achieve a lot of things that without him it wouldn't be possible. He was a friend, father, and leader for us. But sorry, I never thought I'm gonna stand here. Having my life. I'm sorry. I wish I could have done something that made me pray harder. But I guess HaKadosh Baruch Hu had another plan. I don't want to take much of your time. All I know is now I have to deal with my father's departure and my rabbi departure. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but with that Hashem. Hashem will find a way and will show the way to me.
next we're asking Rabbi to come.
As the Rav said earlier, very opportune time. Fortunately, we have to experience the loss of a great person. Plus, Tisha B'Av is the time when so mutal lefanam, when the nifter is in front of us. And Chazal tell us that the concept of a hesped is not merely to talk about the milas of the person, but just like in the Beis Hamikdash, the goal is to appreciate what we've lost. So that's truly the motivation of a hesped. The hesped is a time when we appreciate what we lost. The truth of the matter is, I was not intimately close to the nifter. My connection here, probably a very, very close affiliation with Sarah and Omri, Amish family. But the truth of the matter is, we all knew him. We didn't have to be within his Dalit Amos to really appreciate who Rabbi Menashe was. He was a person on a mission. Torah minute. Every minute was a way in how to live a life. He had goals. He had a Messiah.
his whole entire life was dedicated to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the cloud. I'd like to share with you a very powerful message, which I believe depicts the life of the Nifter. It was said already a little bit, but I think it's so beautifully and eloquently described. We know that we say a bracha every single day. Every time we get an aliyah to the Torah, we say, Hashem, He chose us. And the world asks the question, it's not true. You didn't pick us. You asked them first, Yishmaelim, Adon. What does it mean you picked us? You didn't pick us. There's a very beautiful Yalkut Shimoni, and the Dubna Maggid expounds on it in Parashas Bamidbar. The Midrash says that the nations of the world went to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they were jealous. Why did you give the Torah to Bnei Yisrael? And Hashem said a very cryptic answer. He says, bring me your yichus. Let me see where you come from. And that's where they took a census by Yisrael. We all know that kahuna, the three ksarim, kahuna is through lineage, malchus is through lineage, but Torah it's available for everybody. What does Torah is further with another interesting medrash. So it said the words Manasseh and Ishma. How was a Shaykh? Israel didn't know what was in the Torah. And they did, they fulfilled, will take it on. Why? How? And he says, and he plays on the word of Manasseh. The Manasseh refers, we did, and therefore to our forefathers who kept the mitzvahs. Manasseh is referring to Yaakov, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, all of them who fulfilled the Torah even before Matan Torah. So when Klal Yisrael said, Asher Bochar Banu, it's referring to the Avos. The Avos accepted the Torah. And that has been transferred for generations in the DNA, in the kishkis of Klal Yisrael. When we say Asher Bochar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, we're referring to the Avos. They chose the Torah, and that was disseminated and transferred throughout the generations. It's in our DNA. It's in our kishkis. It's who we are. The nations of the world don't have that yichus. Because Baruch Hu says, look at the yichus. Look where they came from. I think for sure, when you think about Rabbi Menashe, the Chazaq Levaya, as his beloved son said, Misorah. It's all about Misorah. Picking and continuing his mission. The beautiful Messiah that he gave over. Unadulterated, no compromises. A Messiah that he found, that he understood what's in his kishkis. And I think that explains everything. It explains his whole hanhaga. We learned from the DNA of our avos how to deal with the misyonos, how to understand and deal with difficult times, difficult misyonos. And we remember so vividly when he lost his beloved Rebbetzin, who he adored in the prime of her life. How he was mekabelet, ni'ava, yisurim shalava. How he was steadfast in his emunah. How strong he was. because that was in the kishkis. It was part of his makeup. It was part of his essence. I actually remember Rabbi Menashe going many, many years, maybe before most of the people here. When he was still single, he was a Talmud in Yeshivat Chofetz Chaim for a couple of years. We were in the same shir together. And he saw greatness at that stage in his life. The term in Yiddish, a gehoibene mensch, an exalted person. You knew that he was poised for greatness. I remember Menashe was in our Mesivta. Every time I had an encounter with Rabbi Menashe and his Rebbitzin, you felt you were in the presence of something special. It wasn't ordinary. It was something very, very unique. And that was his whole DNA. His neimus, his sweetness. I don't think anybody will ever say that he ever saw him raise his voice. The way he dealt with people. The Kadishem Shemayim in all of his aspects. How he loved people. He was on a mission. Every single Jew was chashuv to him. Amar b'tzayra par excellence. How he loved Klal Yisrael. Because it's in the DNA. It was in his Messiah. I remember always getting texts when there were events commemorating the yard side of Ben Ish Hai. Remember the 100th yard side, how proud he was to carry the banner, to carry the Messiah. But in all aspects of his life, in his midos tov, his estapus, such a simple person, him and his Rebbitzin, they weren't looking for anything lavish. Simplicity. They knew they don't take those things with them. The simplicity, the pastors, the priorities in life. Those who didn't know him, we did know him. He was a walking Kiddush Hashem. The Midrash Rabbah, Kelis Rabbah, it says that a Shem Tov has more chashivas than an Aron HaKodesh, than the Holy Ark. An Aron HaKodesh was 3 days outside of Klal Yisrael and Midbar. But a Shem Tov precedes a person all over the world, throughout the entire world. That's Rabbi Menashe. A beautiful Shem Tov. He emulated the beautiful midos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu because it was in his DNA. It was in his kishkis. Nasa that are other, and we are the extensions of that. These are the times that Chazal tell us, Ikiflayim Chatu, Yisrael sinned doubly, they were punished doubly, and ultimately, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives an achama, Ikiflayim, Nachamu Ami. Beloved Mishpacha should know and appreciate, I'm sure they do, the richness of his life, the beauty of his life, and how much we lost. It should be the ultimate nechama for the entire family. They should be able to continue his rich, beautiful legacy. They should always be remembered through their ways.
Thank you, Rabbi Singer. Again, it's really, really hot. We have water. If you don't feel comfortable out here, please feel free to go back to your view. And take a little break or get some water. Does that work for your son?
echo what Menashe said, all the doctors. I don't usually look at WhatsApp chat, but it almost seems like it was a machine gun. Came in 45, 46, 47, 3 o'clock in the morning, 101, 101, 106. Next person, next person. I never see anything like it. Dr. Rahmani is, such good care of him and was so proactive. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. And so many other people, and again, it's hard to mention names because of the people we left out. So we thank all of you. And on the topic of Har Hazetim, Gemara tells us that a person should marry God. A person should marry the daughter of a Chacham. And the Gemara never tells us anything that's pashut, that's a sibara, something that we can figure out for ourselves. And you would think from that sentence that the Gemara tells you, marry the daughter of a Chacham. Why? Because she's going to be the best person. But that's not what the Gemara says. The Gemara says because if you marry the daughter of a Chacham, you know where you're going to spend your time? You're going to spend it around the Talmid Chacham. My life has been so changed because Rabbi Menashe was a Abba. It is such a trajectory. Look back on 13 years, 14 years of every Dvar Torah that a piece of it or all of it belongs to him. The introduction to the Ben Ish Hai all belongs to him. My writings, they belong to him. My shiurim, they belong to him. I can't imagine marrying into a better family. How it's all from the ground up. Everything is done by the family. And that was put into me, and everything was put, and I had shiurim to give. It doesn't happen in most families. And that's how Har Hazetim. I can't give a better example of Gemara than my own experience. Mishnah Habod says a couple of the halal Omer. The person gazes at 3 things, he will not come to sin. Where you came, where are you going, and before whom you will have to be judged. The very time, as he oftentimes does, gives an unbelievable, beautiful shot that anyone reading it would never come up with. He says, what is it saying, my ayin bata? So he says, this first half of the Mishnah is referring to the spiritual. Saying, what is it talking about? It's talking about the neshama. Neshama came from Shemayim. That neshama is pure, that neshama is a diamond. He says that then it's put down on the Taholah, and it's put down into this world. What happens when it's in this world? He says it gets covered by mud, it gets covered by all the gashmiyut of this world. He said, but remember, it's a diamond. You can take a diamond, you can put it into the earth, you can do whatever you want to it. You can always polish it off. You can always bring back that diamond. And our job in this world is to work on becoming the diamond. Our goal works on becoming that diamond. And therefore, if you stay the diamond, you clean off the diamond, you live as the diamond in this world. When you judge, we judge the same way. Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, there's no time in Olam Haba. And they will see you the same way. With watching the beautiful diamond that you maintain. There's a term, constructive criticism. Rabbi Menashe did not give constructive criticism. He gave constructive encouragement. anytime I did something, he would encourage it. He would say, maybe, sometimes he would say, maybe this would be a little better, maybe you could do more. And you saw his love coming through. As many of you know, we lived in Abba and Ima's house for 3 to 4 years during our marriage. And on paper, structurally, you would think that that's not a good idea. But it was probably the best thing that's ever happened to us. And I remember how sad he was when we left. And how amazing it was to be part of that home. And there's a phrase that goes, when it comes to marriage, is that before marriage, both eyes should be wide open, and after marriage, they should be half shut. And probably to watch me parent and try to figure all things out, he knew a lot of things better than me. But he kept his eyes half closed. He didn't criticize. He didn't say you should do this better. Only on very, very, very few occasions. One time that I can remember, when Yali and myself were discussing whether or not to let the kids cross Middle Neck Road in order to come to the Midrash. And I was on the side that they're old enough they can come, and Yali was on the side that they shouldn't. And then Rabbi Menashe spoke. And he said that's dangerous, and then they didn't cross. Like that. Saying, I've never felt so respected. And what it is to come into a family, and what it is to come in as a son-in-law, and to feel so much respect. Not that I was treated nicely. Respect, if I said something, he carried it with so much weight. He would say, but Zeb said it. I would say, what do you mean Zeb said it? You got 30 years on Zeb. But that is so much respect. I couldn't believe it. And last thing, it was in Har, but the Levaya asked me Chazaq. So Abba asked me Chazaq, and I know what you said. You say it for what? That's how it was. Thank you everyone for coming. It's amazing the similarities that happened. Remember when the Rabbi passed away, how it was freezing cold and so many people turned out. And here we have this tremendous heat and so many people turned out. And it's just a testament and how much love everyone has for them and how much love they generated. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb. As always, with the words of Chizuk. I'm going to ask Mr. Guy Shoshan to please give us the words. This is the last talk we're going to do.
Used to coming in to an event, we come with everyone, and we're going to go hear Abba speak. We all come together, we meet up outside, and now it's the same feeling, you know, coming to an event, but, you know, it's about my father-in-law. And I just want to say very shortly that I had the best father-in-law in the world, and I said it always from the beginning. And Justin, you know, we used to always walk back together from the Midrash and back, go back. We used to always talk about different things. I would call him randomly to ask him questions, and we would just talk about stuff. And like Zeb said, I always felt so respected, and I always felt like it was so fun to talk to him about anything. And you felt comfortable doing whatever you do in this house because everything was okay. And I just want to say one thing that my Rebbe says, that big people have contradictions. Because if you're a big person, it's complex, not simple. And my dear father-in-law had from the biggest contradictions I've ever seen, and I want to share it with everyone. On the one hand, he was so strong like Menashe said, he didn't budge. I begged him to say a bracha under a kuppah, and he wouldn't do it. He said, my father said I only do all 7, I'm sorry. And I asked him for weeks. I said, just the last one, just for us, make an exception. I love you, I'm sorry, no. And to hold all the minhagim, and to hold such a high level of every step you make, he knows what to do. He knows the halakha. There's nothing in the house that there's not an exact way to do it. Not the way you would think always, but there's a way. And he was so strong. He was such a takif. He was so strong in that area. But on the other hand, he was he was so pleasant, and he was so fun to be around. He could tell me anything, and it wouldn't bother me. When we got married, I told him, Abba, I love waking up on Shabbat morning and learning before it's Tefillah. When I would come, he would always be there before me. And he already has 5 sfarim open. And I would say, oh, Abba, I have a nice thought from the Ben Ish Hai. And say, oh, tell me. And then he would say it over in his drasha. I would say, oh, guy said this and that. As if I told it to him. And then he would show me later where the source for it was and to see the longer version. And then when I woke up late, he would say, hey, where were you? You told me you love waking up early in the morning. And now where are you? And I remember I never met when he and I got so close to him, and I would say that, like, dear Abba, we're going to take the Lord us into our family. I told my wife this morning that Abba's going to be a very part of our life always, and that we're going to live what he taught. And he taught us, no matter what you do it 100%, not 99, 100, no matter what it is. And you have to be strong, and you have to make sacrifices. But on the other hand, no one around you should feel the intensity. It should be pleasant and fun. When I ask Mechila from dear father-in-law if I did anything, and I want to thank everyone for coming in this weather, and like the Yavet says in Gemara, anyone who is involved with his family in this world is involved in every step of the way throughout their life. And I know we said this about our Ima, and we said this about our Abba, that they're now Shamayim together, and they're going to hold everyone's hand throughout every step of the way. Thank you.
I know it said, thank you, guys. I know it said that was the last one. Just we have one more statement. We're asking them to give us a few words, please.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. I just don't think I'll never have the opportunity again. Unfortunately, I never wanted this opportunity, but it's come. Rabbi, I'm sorry that I couldn't see you the past couple of months. These restrictions did not allow us to. Unfortunately, I couldn't ask you for Mechila. I asked you today for Mechila. I want to know, has anybody ever been to Yom Kippur where before Neilah you don't want it to end? I have been there. I've been at that Yom Kippur. I've sat next to the Rabbi Menashe. I've stood next to him. I watched him take this breath that you have no idea. I think he took the entire weight, burden of the world onto his shoulders. And he sang with a voice that if you haven't heard it, I cannot explain it to you. It cannot be replicated. Sharei Shamayim opened. They made way. There was nothing stopping. Nothing stopping his tefillot from going. He sang Kel Nora Alillah like nothing. I hope there's a tape of it. I hope we can still hear it. It was something that is unbelievable. I cannot explain, but I did not want it to end. as he went through each verse, I wanted to keep going. Keep singing the song. And then somehow I've adapted every single song in Judaism to be at this tune because it's just unbelievable and I hear his voice. Have you ever sat at a Tisha B'Av? I've been to many Batei Kinesiot. I've been to Batei Kinesiot in Eretz Yisrael. I've been to Batei Kinesiot in New York, wherever. Have you ever seen a Chacham sit on the floor and cry? Tears pouring down his eyes as he reads the Asara Arugei Malchut. Half the time by Asara Arugei Malchut, half the people are out of the Bet Knesset. He's sitting on it by himself, tears. You're embarrassed. How come you cannot cry? How come only Chacham can cry? I don't know what to say. I won't experience these things anymore because they don't exist. They were one of a kind. When Menashe was one of a kind, his family is one of a kind. And unfortunately, they've had to take the burden of all these nisyonot. Menashe will bring them Yeshua. When I used to stand next to him and give him the signs for the Torah, the upside down horseshoe. I don't even know what that does. I don't think anybody knows what that does. And there was one time that I missed it. I didn't go like this. And he messed up the word. And he says to me, you didn't go like this. I was like, because I didn't go like this, you messed up the word. How could that be? I have no idea. But he was so many words. Nobody does that. We fly through it. We don't even know it says a dollar, a hey. We have no idea. Rabbi Menashe took care to make sure every single thing. I once saw in the back of my siddur, I never understood it, and I opened the back of my siddur, and it gives a story. As Shalom, it says if you do not midaktek on every otiot, you have a lot of things coming for you. But if you are, you go to the heights of Gan Eden. He didn't even need that. But just with that alone. He's at the tip of the mountain. We're going to miss you. I don't want to keep up too much time. More than anybody has ever taught me talking that we keep nobody. I don't even know anybody else who does have these things. But you were steadfast. You kept to it. Hayyim. You be a Eretz Yisrael for your family.